Wave two begins with this character Apollos. In Acts 18, it says a Jew named Apollos, a native of Alexandria, was a learned man with thorough knowledge of the scriptures. He had been instructed in the way of the Lord, and he spoke with great fervor and taught about Jesus accurately. We know from ancient educational practices that Alexandria had a huge reputation for producing people of eloquence, people who, when they were well educated, became fluent and had a special kind of Alexandrian rhetoric. They were trained in a certain way. And this word for learned can mean eloquent or rhetorically capable. And so what we can imagine is that when Apollos comes to Corinth, after Paul has left, when Apollos comes, as we mentioned last week, he would draw a new wave of converts who may have been above the day laborer status, right? Who may have been from the more educated classes. And I mentioned last week that, I threw out the notion that he knows what wines are good and he knows to leave his pinky off the cup handle when he drinks tea and all those things. And I was being a bit facetious. But here I'm going to go off slides for a second. I was being a bit facetious, but I want to establish with you a real truth of ancient social relations. We're in scary territory because this is my dissertation for Yale when I did my PhD. It's called Illiterate Apostles, Uneducated Early Christians, and the Literates Who Loved Them. And it's because I spent like 2 years of my life probing what it was to be educated or uneducated in the Roman Empire. And it turns out it mattered a lot. And the two groups were separated by a wide gaping gap socially. So the educated talked about the uneducated as if they were animals sometimes, and as if they responded to hard circumstances, and because they were untrained, because they hadn't trained their passions, they responded with emotion and overbaked things and everything. The educated saw themselves as virtuous, and they didn't see the underclasses as even capable of virtue. And the second part of that Apollos passage comes in verse 1 of chapter 19, where it says, when Apollos wanted to go to Achaia is the broad area that includes Athens and Corinth, the brothers and sisters encouraged him and wrote to the disciples there to welcome him, and wrote, while Apollos was at Corinth, Paul took the road from Syria through the interior and arrived at Ephesus. Right? So Paul's gone. He's been to Syria. He's sitting in Ephesus, and Apollos has full reign in Corinth.